Hello, everyone, and welcome to Placing Faces, the show where we sit down with some of the most influential casting directors in all of Hollywood and across the entertainment spectrum. I'm your host, Charlie Chappell, and today we're starting a special set of 3 episodes all geared around the Artios Awards, the Casting Society of America's celebration of excellence in casting. In our first of these 3 episodes, we're going to be talking with up-and-coming casting duo Amanda Lenker Doyle and Chrissy Fiorilli-Ellington. Amanda is on the board of the Casting Society of America, and the 2 of them are jointly nominated for a couple Artios Awards this year. They've worked on some really exciting projects, both together and separately, including The Muppets, The Good Wife, Blackish, The Walking Dead, College Humor Originals, Emergency, Zack and Mia, and most recently, Wayne, a new kick-ass coming-of-age tale which you can watch now on YouTube Premium. We talk about how they got their start, how they teamed up, and what exactly the Artios Awards are all about. So drive safe, use that turn signal, and I hope you learn as much as I did. Thank you very much for taking the time to come hang out with us today and in the rain. And I guess this is our winter this week.
This week.
Winter time. So we're actually just going to jump right in. Where do you come from and how did you get here?
Okay, you want to start, Chrissy? You want me to start?
So I'm from.
Can you bring that mic
Bring
up
it up.
just
I
a
was
little
wondering.
bit closer to you?
Okay.
There you go.
Okay, you sound really clear.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm from North Carolina, and that's nice. I'll start over. So I'm from North Carolina, and grew up there, and always wanted to move to New York. Like from age 8 or 9. I was at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade we used to go every year. And I just looked around, and this was pre-Giuliani New York, so it was disgusting. And I went, all right, this is where I want to be. And
You liked the disgusting and the...
Yeah, I liked the whole energy of New York in general. And then in high school is when I started to get into theater, just community theater and doing theater at school. And then I went to University of North Carolina at Greensboro, UNCG, not the Tar Heels, the Spartans, and studied theater there. So I got my BFA, and like 6 months after, I saved up some money and I moved up to New York. And at first I was a nanny, then I worked in craft beer sales, and then I worked in liquor for a little bit, and then back to beer, and then got laid off. And I was like crying on my couch and on the phone with my mom. And I said, I used to want to do things. I used to want to create things. And now I'm just getting people to drink. And this is like exhausting. She said, well, why don't you go on unemployment and figure it out? So I went, oh, okay. And a friend of mine from college worked in Bernie Telsey's office. And she and I were talking, and she was like, look, we don't have any space right now for any assistants, but would you want to be an intern? So I took an internship there, and from the first day, I was done. Like, I was just opening up envelopes with people sending their headshots from all around the country, and I was just elated to be there. So I ended up assisting one of the casting directors there, but after a while, my unemployment ran out, and at the time, they couldn't support me on a salary or anything. So I left. I worked for a manager for a short time, and that was a learning experience. Being an agent or a manager and being a casting director, like, there's buying versus selling. And I'm better at buying. After I realized that wasn't my thing, I just really pounded the pavement trying to find any casting jobs that I could. I would jump around from office to office, job to job, and then finally I went, oh yeah, I should just call myself freelance, because that sounds better than like, these jobs just last for 2 weeks or something. And I ended up working all over the place in New York. So I worked for Cindy Tolan, I worked for Eileen Starker.
Yeah, you've worked under a lot of
people.
Really incredible casting directors.
Yeah, and Mikey Heilbrunn and Laura Rosenthal and Mark Sachs. And my last year in New York, I worked on The Good Wife, the first season of The Good Wife with Mark. And that was probably my longest job. That was how I met my now husband. I knew who he was. His name is Tate Ellington. He's an actor. And I knew who he was because he would come in and audition for things. And he became friends with a friend of mine when they both did a play together on Broadway. And we would hang out. And then at the end he ended up doing an episode of The Good Wife. And at the end of the season, there was a party. And he came to it. And then we went bowling afterwards. And we started dating a week later.
Okay.
there. So while we were dating, there just weren't a lot of things shooting in New York. And so I just sort of realized, if I want to work in comedy, I need to go to LA because that's where all the decision makers are. That's where a lot of the comedies are shot. At the time in New York, the only thing that was funny shooting there was probably 30 Rock. And so we just took a leap. We had been dating for like 6 or 9 months or something, and we moved out here. And
it's a big leap.
that's a big leap. And the rest is history. I mean, I can keep going. It's a long story.
Well, she got a job at College Humor. Go ahead and tell them about that.
Yeah, so I worked on a pilot when I first got out here. Then I worked for Liz Lewis Casting, who had opened an office out here. And then I worked for College Humor as their head of talent and casting. Mm-hmm. And I'd been friends with them for a long time, since it was 8 guys living in a loft in Tribeca. And there was a 2-week period where we had a vacation time. And a job came through, and I told my boss, I was like, I'm not going to work over this vacation, so what do we do? He said, get someone to fill in for you. So I posted on Facebook or something, and Amanda responded and came in, and we met, and we just hit it off.
I was sitting in her office, and I saw a picture of Tate, and I was like, is that Tate Ellington? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I love him. And she was like, oh, me too. I'm married to him. And I was like, oh my God. So.
And we just kept in touch. We met that day and kept in touch, and then didn't meet again in person until the day we decided to partner, which was 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah, well, Tate booked Quantico, and so she moved to Montreal with him because they had just had their first baby.
And that was a pretty long run that he was on there for.
He was just on the first season.
Okay.
He, spoiler alert, he drove a SUV off a bridge with a nuke in it and saved the world.
He saved the world.
That was nice of him.
It was really nice. Yeah.
So then they came back after he saved the world.
Yeah.
And we partnered.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Amanda, now it's your turn.
I'll give you a very truncated version of my backstory.
And feel free to edit mine.
No, that was great.
Okay. So I'm originally from Ohio, and I went to Ohio University and came out here in 2006. And with an incredible group of people who I met at college, and we're all working in the fields that we, intended to work in. It's really fantastic. But
so you were one of the few that didn't start off doing.
No.
You weren't a lawyer before you came out here.
No, I wanted to work in casting.
Okay. Always wanted to work in casting.
Well, when I was little, I was in community theater, and then at OU, I wanted to major in theater, but I ended up minoring in theater and classical civ and majoring in telecommunications and video production.
Okay.
And so in school, because I was a theater minor and friends with all of the theater kids, I couldn't do main stage shows as an actor, but I was able to stage manage, and I was able to do little, studio shows and whatnot. And so I knew all the actors really, really well. And so my friends who were, had taken these roles as the producer in our group or the director in our group, which they're now all functioning in that capacity out here. My husband, was a friend from school. He was our DP, and he's now a working DP out here.
Yeah.
But, they were like, oh, all the actors, why don't you be the casting director, quote unquote. And I was like, okay. So I just functioned in that capacity for them, just strictly by having an understanding of who the actors were at school and how they would fit into the projects that we were making in school. So we moved out here in 2006, and my first job was in commercial casting. I worked in commercial casting for a few years. And then when the economy collapsed, my commercial casting director boss Sharon Bialy was her assistant years and years and years ago. And she was like, do you want to go intern for Sharon? I know you want to work in theatrical casting. And I was like, I do. That'd be awesome. So I went and it was before the internship thing. So I went and interned at Bialy Thomas. And I interned for 6 months, and then they hired me for pilot season, and I worked with them on the pilot and the first 6 of The Walking Dead. And at the time we were doing, I think we were doing Breaking Bad, and we were doing a show called Lie to Me, and 187 Detroit. It was a lot. It was a lot of.
You guys were killing it though.
There was a lot of they're incredible.
Amazing.
And they were doing 4 big procedural dramas. Well, I guess some of them were procedural, some weren't at the same time. So it was baptism by fire for me. in regard to learning how to work theatrically. So I worked for them for like 7 months until they kind of slowed down a little bit and couldn't keep me on because they've had Russell and Gohar with them for, since I've known them. So after that, I started working with Alexis Kazera and Christine Shevchenko, and I worked with them for 6.5 years. So with them, I did Blackish for ABC, and we did The Muppets.
And you went from working on that as an associate to being a full-fledged casting director on Blackish.
Yeah, so I started in their office as an assistant and worked my way up to associate, and then eventually I was made a casting director, and I was a casting director we did a show for Nickelodeon called The Thundermans, so they made me a casting director on that, and then I did a bunch of shows for Amazon that I was a casting director on, and then after the first season of Blackish, they made me a casting director on season 2, which was really kind.
Yeah.
And I was also able to be a casting director on The Muppets, which was an absolute dream.
Super cool.
Yeah. So I did that with them, and then Chrissy came back, and we sat down, and I was like, I think it's time to kind of jump out on my own. So we took the leap 2.5, almost 3 years ago.
Yep.
And it's been quite a ride.
Yeah, it's been terrific.
Yeah.
Like that day that we met up for lunch, I called my mom ahead of time, and I was like, I'm about to go have lunch, and with this girl I met years ago, and we've kept in touch, and I don't know, I'm either going to walk away with a new best friend or with a business partner. I'm not quite sure. And we've ended up becoming both. We got our first job pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like I think on day 0, and then on day 1 we were already working on a pilot presentation for someone, and we have just been consistently working ever since. A lot of stuff, and what's nice is that Amanda, comes from a little bit more traditional space, and then I come from the digital alt comedy space, and so we've been able to really blend those two things together really well. So a lot of our first projects were in the digital space, which are now becoming more and more and more mainstream. And then we've done some proper television too, which has been really nice, and films and shorts and things like that.
Well, it's interesting because she has a really an in-depth understanding of the alt comedy community in regard to the actors in that space. And I know some of them, but I have a really an in-depth understanding of the traditional actor, the actors who are working traditionally in network television. So I think, it's been really great because we've kind of fill in the gaps for each other when we're working on the things that we've gotten to work on.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and have you guys talked much about the differences in the way that you both came to the industry? With you a little bit more indirectly, with you a little bit more directly, and how that has kind of influenced how you approach the work?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think we both have a theater background. So, we kind of fell into the roles in our office, too. Chrissy reads for Tate. She puts him on tape all the time for different projects, and he books a lot of work. And I say it's because of her. But she's really, really good at reading, and
it's good to be married to a casting director.
It is good to be married to a casting director.
Married to an actor.
But she practices all the time with him too. So she's kind of taken on the role of reading with the actors. And I found, over the course of my time in casting that I absorb a performance better by watching anyway. So, and she absorbs better by being in it with them. And I love reading with actors, but it works really well for our situation. So she reads with everybody, and
And while I didn't necessarily know when I took that internship that I wanted to be a casting director, it was something that had always sort of been on my mind. How can I use this brain that can remember someone who's in a Little Caesars commercial, who was also in a movie and also in that TV show, and how is that a skill that I could actually use in my real life? And so that was what was so exciting when I started my internship, was just going, oh wow, I can use this, and my brain does work for this type of work. And what's nice is that in the way that, and Amanda's brain does the same thing, but she's really great at a lot of the businessy things and contracts and remembering drop pickups and And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. As long as you remember all that, then that's good. We can share a brain in that way.
Yes, we do. It's really important to have two brains, I think, in this
Yeah.
particular industry, because there's so much going on and it's so involved. And in addition to remembering performances and the actor's ability and their names, even
Well,
there's
and
a lot.
especially in the industry now as it is, because it used to be you would get hard copy submissions and you would thumb through things and there was a little more time. And now there's a billion things being made all at the same time. And the submissions come in so fast. No one has read the script when they're making submissions. And you know, we probably just finished it and like seconds before posting a breakdown. And so having both of us to really jump into things, I think is very helpful in the current time.
And it's also subjective. I mean, the art of it is subjective, right? So like the business part of it is not,
Right.
but the art is subjective. So there are often times where she's like, no, I don't think that person makes sense. And I'm like, okay, well, why? And, you know, she'll explain and okay, all right, maybe. And you know, we like to present, sometimes I'll give in and sometimes she'll give in and sometimes we like stand our ground. But it's, you know, also it's our responsibility to present an array of options and outside the box ideas. So, you know, we try to use each other's brains and creative opinion to, you know, make our work a little bit more diverse and interesting.
And both of us having worked with a bunch of different people, I think has been really beneficial because we got to see that a lot of people work in a bunch of different ways, and that you get to know a lot of actors that way. I mean, coming from New York, there's the talent pool is smaller, just in numbers alone, and it's still intimidating to me seeing a breakdown come out and see submissions come out for, you know, just thousands of people. There's just, the volume is crazy out here. And so that's another thing that I think works out really well is that, you know, we're starting to get to know all the same people, but there will definitely be times when you'll remember someone from something years ago and I don't know who they are, and then they come in and they're amazing.
So we both go through everything, but then additionally we pull people in that aren't submitted all the time.
Yeah.
Because, you know, oftentimes, you know, when they're submitting, they just don't know exactly what we're looking for. And
some
so
people
we
you're
sit,
like, I know that
"Why
person.
wasn't this?"
That person.
Yeah, that person would be great. Yeah.
So you guys both came up working under some really incredible casting directors. For somebody who is, I guess, looking at the first stint into casting, how do you recommend getting into that world now that the whole internship for free thing is out the door? Because you used to like, and I think there's something to be said about just going out and like working for someone, apprenticing, for lack of a better word, and like learning how to do the job.
Yes.
But now it's a little bit harder to do that.
Well, and you can still be an intern as long as you're in school.
Sure. And
And
there's certain criteria that you have to hit too.
Yeah,
with that.
if you're enrolled in school, then you can be an intern, or they have to pay you minimum wage.
Right.
It's just a paid internship.
I think, you know, the CSA is doing a training program for assistants. So we've been working on that for a while, and we did a soft launch last year. So I think we have the first 3 classes developed, and so we have the kids who took the beta round test round of the first 3 classes are going to be Mr. and Miss Artios this year. So they're going to hand all the awards out at the ceremony this year, which we're really excited about. But we're trying to create opportunity for a new generation of casting directors. I think in my experience, it was really important to work for the people that I worked for, because you not only learn how the business works logistically, but you'll kind of learn by watching how they work through the art of casting. And, you know, just being on the board of CSA and having some of the most incredible casting directors we have been afforded the opportunity, Chrissy and I, at least our generation of casting directors, have been afforded the opportunity to work and learn from those people. Like I'm friends with Marcy Liroff, and she was on the board with me, and she's incredible and has so many incredible stories. And I watch her teach actors, and we are continuing to learn how to kind of function in this industry in where it is today technologically, but kind of preserving the art of casting as it was developed and created by the people, the founders of this industry.
Now, we haven't had many discussions on the art of casting. When you talk about the art of casting, what do you mean by that?
It's kind of it's like an indescribable, inherent macro understanding of what the piece of art is and is going to be, the movie, the project, the television show. Taking what you understand to be the characters and the space and the period, and working backwards to try to figure out what human person alive today makes the most sense to portray that person to the best of their ability in the vision or how the creators saw it, or maybe not how they saw it. Maybe, we present them with a different way to go, but curating this overall piece of macro art and participating in the curation of this overall piece of art. And it's very collaborative.
It's similar to being like a museum curator.
Yeah, totally.
That you've got each of the different rooms, and you got to figure out where to put the art.
And specifically
get them to look their best.
Dealing with the people portion of it. So there's a psychological element to it. There's a psychology to it. There's, it's more than just painting a wall. It's kind of painting with people, I suppose.
Sure.
So the art of casting is hard to explain and describe. It's kind of like, again, very subjective. But I guess I've said before that it's kind of like falling in love with people over and over and over again. And when you're in that space and in the room and you see someone who's right, immediately. I think I really inappropriately clapped after someone read for us for our project that's
you
coming
gave a
out.
standing ovation.
I know, I stood up.
Yeah,
I
you
was
don't
so
get that in
excited.
auditions.
Yeah. I was so excited to see her because, it was a very challenging, difficult role, and it was very complicated because this character was from somewhere that's not here, not Southern California, and a lot of the kids that we were reading couldn't wrap their heads around the grittiness of this.
Well, this
character.
is for Wayne.
This is Wayne I'm talking
okay.
about.
Yeah.
And she walks in and she just got it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, thank God for you." You know what I mean? Like I was like, "You get it, you understand it." But it's.
Are you talking about Dell?
Yeah,
We are.
Oh,
Sierra.
great.
Sarah.
I can't wait. We're gonna get
We'll
into
get
Wayne
there.
soon.
Yeah.
Everyone, look forward to it.
Yeah, but I don't know if you can kind of, reduce what my definition of the art of casting is, but it's so different than the business of casting.
Yes.
And I think it's lost in translation, because it's.
I think it really is, and
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I'm learning from the first episode with Marcy through now.
Yeah.
It's been trying to define that, and it is hard because there are so many different aspects of what it is that you guys do that are artistic, but people look at you as just kind of like, oftentimes just look at you as gatekeepers or look at you as just like
we're in the way.
kind of.
Yeah.
And that's totally not the case.
Right.
There has to be somebody. I think the term gatekeeper has this negative connotation, but honestly, there has to be somebody who's managing that. It has to
whole
happen.
thing.
Well, yeah, because,
But there's nothing negative about what you guys are
No.
doing. It's in fact, it is more positive. You're looking for that person to come in that you can stand up and clap for.
we
You're looking
want
for
you
absolutely
to be we want you to win the job. We want to find the best person for this job. So we are your advocates.
And also, we want the producers, the network, the director we want their time to be used well too. And so, if you're the costume designer, you wouldn't just walk into a giant mall with your director and be like, pick out the clothes, So we're there to do some filtering, and be like, okay, so we've gone into the mall, we've done all this stuff, and then here are some options for you.
And here's why we like this dress.
Exactly.
And here's why we don't like this dress.
Right. Exactly.
But it's up to you ultimately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Until you've been on a show for like 12 seasons of Law and Order, parking ticket division, we often aren't the ones who are making the decision on who gets the role. It's still either the producers or the studio or the network, like they are still the ones saying yes or no to people. And so while we have that initial, thumbs up or thumbs down on presenting people, we don't often get the final say.
No, but we also have the opportunity to help the actors do and give their very best performances in an effort for them to win the job.
Exactly.
And we do have our ways of kind of, I'm not going to say manipulating.
No, but like in my Big Fat Greek Wedding, and she's like, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck.
Yeah.
Like casting directors are the neck.
We're the neck.
Yeah.
And we...
a lot of good analogies today.
Yeah. We...
it's the rain. Yeah. It's making me very introspective.
I think that's also why we are forgotten and...
overlooked and underappreciated. Because we're also so early on in the process that by the time you're in the end, of course you're going to thank your editor because you remember them, because you were just working with them.
Right. Mm-hmm. But also we spend a lot of time figuring out ways to convince them that it was their idea. So that at the end of the day, they think it was their idea. So why would they give us credit? Right? So that's part of the part of the problem. Yeah, that's the big problem.
The work that you do,
it's invisible,
hides the work that you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a few producers and directors here and there that recognize us, and we've been really lucky to work with some of them. But I think that is the overall issue. Yeah.
Going forward, and now we're jumping all around my notes, but going forward, is there any way to kind of like fix that?
I mean, the only way to fix it is to scream it from the
keep
mountaintops.
Screaming. I was just going to say the same thing.
More and more of this, more and more of...
Yeah.
And why has it been that hasn't been the case until now? Why have casting directors been so relegated to the shadows?
I can't answer that because we're a different generation of casting.
Sure.
But from what I've learned from my mentors and the people above me who, worked so hard to unionize in like 2006, I think they unionized.
Yeah, 2005, 2006. 2005 was when it was announced. I think it happened in 6.
That's when they were able to get us unionized.
And the Teamsters Union, that they were the only ones that were like, yeah, come on in.
Yeah, yeah. And they worked so hard for us. And, so that, I mean, we're talking, like 13 years or something like that? Like, it's very hard. I think the generations before us were working for practical things. Recognition isn't exactly practical. So they were trying to, set the groundwork for the next generation to be able to survive and do this job and survive, especially out here where it's like incredibly expensive to live. So,
well, I mean, it was, and even the term casting director was hard fought for a very long time. The documentary Casting By talks about that in depth.
Right.
That nobody wanted to give you guys even that much credit.
Right.
Just like, that doesn't make any sense to me. But here we are.
And the truth is that we are directing in our own way. We're not directing on set, but we're certainly directing in the room when we're trying to, craft these performances to be reflective of what the creative team is looking for. So, the idea that we're not, that we don't deserve the title of director with casting in front of it is completely inaccurate, in my opinion.
Well, but also the word director isn't just like
doesn't just refer to
doesn't
a
just
director.
refer to like entertainment.
Of course,
like there are directors in other jobs in the world, and so like
and
the
there's
word
other directors on
has a broader
set
use,
too.
right?
There's the director of photography.
Yeah.
I think it's a semantics thing.
It is, but I think the point, that you guys bring up about the artistry of casting is sometimes misunderstood in the sense that when you think about a DP, yeah, that's art. They've got a camera and there's lighting and there's
It's tangible.
It is tangible. Even to a certain extent, sound design and sound and all that there's an artistry to it because it is tangible. But because so few people know what it is that you guys do and how you do it and the artistry that's involved, a lot of people just think, oh, they just get on IMDb and search out top actors for 2017 and
Right. Like I could do
throw
that.
those at the wall.
Well, we like to say like everyone's a casting director.
Right.
Everyone's like, and we manage that too in the process. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, even I've been doing this for a long time now, and I'm still not entirely sure my family understands like what my job is, because when they ask you like, so what do you do? What are you doing? And then you start to tell them, and then they ask like one leading question, and then you're talking for 45 minutes, and their eyes just sort of go, oh, okay. And they're like, but do you ever see Brad Pitt in town? I'm like, oh, that's all you care about. Okay. No, I haven't seen Brad.
I actually haven't seen Brad Pitt either. No.
I think I did once in New York. Yeah, because like it was in this big crowd, and like it parted like the Red Sea. It was he and Angelina.
He just has like
That sounds right.
Yeah.
a circle around him that people do not enter.
Yeah, and
Well,
everyone got quiet. I saw the tops of their heads.
She jokes, but like there's something to be said about the movie stars. Like when
There really
you are
is.
in the presence of a movie star, you can feel it, and it's indescribable.
Yeah.
It totally. I worked on a documentary called Showrunners for about 4 years, and one of the years, actually multiple years, but one year we went to Comic-Con to shoot these showrunners because they're kind of becoming celebrities in their own right, which I'm totally down for. I think they should be. And we were in Hall H, which is the big hall at Comic-Con, and it was the year that Tom Cruise's movie Ready, Die, Repeat came out, which I think was actually the
That's
foreign title.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It was called something. I've seen it.
It was
It was
good.
him and Emily Blunt.
End of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
And he came out on stage, and it's a room of about 7,000 people, and it changed.
Yeah.
Like there had been other celebrities, there had been other like major TV stars and movie stars, but Tom Cruise came out on that stage, and
There's an energy.
it just changed the whole vibe of the room. It felt different.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah. Nicole Kidman presented for us last year at Artios we were honoring Kevin Huvane, which is her longtime agent. And so she came and introduced him, and it was very lovely. And at one point, someone was like, hey, come backstage and take a picture with her. And I was like, no, I'm 5'2". Like, I have no interest in being in a photograph with her. She is
Give me an apple box.
Yeah. Oh, give me 4 apple boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, she is so stunningly beautiful and just complete. She's just, it's like there's this like aura around her that, I just didn't even want to get close. I was like, you're so stunning. I can't even.
And that's fun and part of the process too of when you see people, when they come into the room and they read for something and you can see where they're going to go. You see the trajectory. Yeah. Like I remember seeing Donald Glover perform at UCB when he was in college and just being like, there's just something about that kid, that made him stand apart. And, I mean, I didn't see Childish Gambino coming out of it, but like, but it's just for those superstars. It's you just get this weird feeling.
Yeah,
it's cool.
It is cool.
So, changing directions a little bit.
Sure.
I kind of want to talk about because this is an Artios special episode.
Yes.
I want to talk first a little bit about the Casting Society of America. You guys are both involved. I know, Amanda, you're on the executive board. First, tell us a little bit about what the Casting Society is, and then I'm curious why it was important for you guys to get involved with the Casting Society.
I ran for the board a few times before I was elected to it. I was elected as an associate like 4 years ago. And then when I partnered with Chrissy and was working actively as a casting director, I then ran again as a casting director. And over the course of my time on the board, worked my way up to becoming one of the executives, and I'm the treasurer now. But I'm also, very involved in a lot of the committees. I'm the chair of the Artios committee, which is really exciting for me because I'm a party planner at heart. But, being involved in, we're Teamsters, and that's our union, and but CSA is our guild, so it's different because it functions as a group, a collective group of folks who are kind of all looking for the same thing PR wise for casting. You know what I mean? It's not, and we're trying to work toward it being really beneficial for the membership in regard to creating the assistant training program. And the diversity committee is really working hard to do a bunch of different things for actors as well. But organizationally, it was just really important for me to be involved from the beginning of, like, right when I got out here, I was like, well, I don't understand why we're under-recognized, and I don't understand why, no one cares about this, and this, of course, like, I chose the industry I chose to be a part of is the one that, like, no one cares about, and that just kills me, so from the beginning, I've been like, I want to be a part of this. I want to try to work toward recognition, not for myself, but for the incredible people that I've met and have had the opportunity to just even sit in a room with, because I think they deserve all of the recognition for the work that they've done. And the profession
itself.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've been working really hard. I've been trying to be in charge of the PR for us too, and it's been a wild ride because just like learning about that industry and going through all of that and working with different PR people, and it's been crazy. But we're working towards figuring out how to gracefully campaign for more recognition. So we're trying to kind of balance and figure out how to work together to change the perspective on the profession.
Are there a lot of people that are of our generation that feel that way, that came out here and was like, why isn't anybody getting any credit for what they're doing?
But at the same time,
because I feel like our generation is a little bit more like,
hey,
fuck you, give me the credit.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did the work.
I did the work. Give me the credit. Yeah. But at the same time, they are working. It's a dog eat dog, and like if you say no to that rate or whatever, there's somebody right behind you who will take that job. So we've had to navigate. Our generation has had to navigate working our way up through the industry and maintaining and securing work for ourselves, but also kind of like on the sidelines, like quietly fighting, like starting to fight that fight. So
for me, I got involved. I was actually a lot more hands-on involved in CSA in New York, because so when I started, it was like just before people started to upload auditions onto the internet and share them that way. So it was like making DVDs, and what I did, one of the things that I did before I started my internship when I was just on unemployment was like teach myself how to edit and how to upload and how to make, at the time, DVDs, use iMovie and everything. And so I kind of ended up on the tech committee in New York by default because I knew how to edit and upload.
One of those new kids and just knows how the internet works.
Yeah, and it exactly. And so the being on the tech committee and being involved in CSA there was really a gateway. And actually having that skill probably helped me leapfrog a little before I was ready, from assistant to associate, where there were probably some other skills that I really lacked that because I knew how to do the editing and uploading, I was able to, quickly jump to an associate position. So, and there it was again a smaller community, so I got to know a lot of people, got to like work on the Artios Awards and like checking people in and getting to put names to faces.
Yeah,
and,
so we do
and
Artios
everything like that
here in LA, and
in
we
New
do a
York.
show in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember, being in New York, and it was always like, oh, the LA show is so fancy. They've got like valet parking. It's at the Hilton, and being really intimidated because the first couple of years in New York, it was at Caroline's, the comedy club, like literally underground, with 0 lights. And
That seems like an odd place for an award
award show,
ceremony
yeah.
at all.
right.
Well, it started as a banquet out here too, and so
Yeah.
I've worked really hard to try to, kind of like fighting with the rest of the board about like name tags, and I'm open to bringing name tags back.
I
I've
like
talked
name
about
tags,
relation
yeah,
fine. But there's a red carpet and there's press, and I want it to be treated like an award show because we moved it to January so that we could participate in award season and be a part of that. It used to be in November, and now just the optics on it being a part of the award show season.
Yeah, instead of just like a potluck
Exactly.
dinner.
Like I want, I really want everyone who attends to go home and put on a fancy dress and come and walk the carpet. And we're behind the scenes. So a lot of the community is like, no, I'm just going to come from work and I'm going to wear what I'm wearing. And
that's fine too. Yeah.
No, I want you to go home and put a fancy dress on and walk the red carpet and, take one night to be proud of the work that you've done and to let other people acknowledge you. And that's kind of why I'm so adamant about making it feel like a real award show.
Well, with the Artios, and because we've kind of jumped in it, can you explain to people a little bit about what the Artios is and what its purpose is? Because if I'm being completely honest, before I started doing this show, I didn't know it existed.
Yeah. Well, it's
and
like
most people I've talked to don't.
Right, because
and it's been going for what, 30 years
no one talks
almost?
about it. Yeah, 34. This is our 34th annual Artios Awards. I think it's a Guild Award show. So it's the same as the SAG Awards or the Directors Guild Awards or the Writers Guild Awards. That's kind of how I look at it.
Is it captured? Is it like...
No.
It's not?
No. I mean,
Why not?
I'm trying.
We're working on it.
I'm working on it, but...
Talk to me after that. We're going to set something up. We're going to make something happen.
I mean, we record it for our own purposes.
You do, but you don't put it out.
But we don't. It's not like broadcast in any capacity.
Okay.
I would love for it to be broadcast, but
even with the YouTube lives or Facebook lives or
I think
something.
we can work toward that.
But let's explain what the Artios are.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Well, Artios is the Greek term for perfectly fitted, and it is the name that the founders decided on years ago to be representative of honoring casting directors who are placing faces.
And it's an award show to recognize each other within our profession.
Yeah.
So it's if you see someone else that does really great work, being able to say, I think you did a good job there. Just like you were saying with the SAG Awards.
Yeah.
That it's the whole group recognizing people who are especially exceptional.
Our peers recognizing peers.
And because, there are so few opportunities for casting directors to get recognized in the other award shows, with the exception of the Emmys, it gives us a chance to be recognized, even if it is within our own community.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and I think what's interesting and why we set up these series for the Artios, where we're speaking with you guys, we're speaking with Alexa L. Fogel, and we're speaking with Russell Boast, who's the president of the Casting Society of America. You guys, this is your second time being nominated for Artios, and you've got 2 projects that are up for Artios Awards right now, which I want to get into a little bit too. So you guys did a short. It's called Emergency. It's really, really incredible. Written by Kristen Davila. Kristen, email me.
Okay.
Let me know.
Okay.
Contact@placingfaces.com.
Okay.
Let me know how to pronounce your last name. And directed by Carrie Williams. It stars Daryl Lake, Jason Woods, Peter Pasco, and Michael Segovia. and Shaw Jones. It's about a group of young Black and Latino friends in an emergency situation where they weigh out the pros and cons of calling the police.
Yeah, that project was really special. It was part of 3 short films that we did with Film Independence Project Involve. And everybody, from top to bottom on that was just so great. And the film turned out beautifully. And the casting process for that, because it was a short film and just pretty, like scale pay, I think we looked on both Actors Access and through agents and stuff, and we found some really great people.
Did any of these guys know each other beforehand?
No, not at all.
Well, Daryl, when I was working with B.L.E. Thomas years ago, we hired Daryl on
Lie to Me.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, who would be great for this is Daryl Lake. So we made him an offer. And
everybody else we read.
Yeah, everyone else we read.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that script in particular really jumped out to both of us, and we were really,
and it
really
spoke
glad
to the
work
actors that came in too. I think we saw a lot of actors that we probably wouldn't have seen for a short film that was scale, because of the content and the social aspect of it and what it was saying.
Yeah. Well, and it's gotten, it's won a lot of awards. It was the winner of the Special Jury Award at Sundance. It won the Best Narrative Short at South by Southwest. Now the Artios Awards, it's up for an award. What do you think it is about this type of film right now that is so important?
Well, I think it certainly speaks to the time that we're in, and as everyone is becoming more and more aware of maybe the struggles that different types of people have. Like it just opens up a window, like you were saying, that you never would have had this problem yourself because you would just call the cops. And
I'd hide my weed in the back room.
Yeah, depending on what state you're in. And so this movie, I think, what's it called? Like when you, like when you slice through the size of it, like when they show you.
Oh, a section?
Yeah, like if you want to see the inside of a cruise ship. And so it's showing you the just how the sausage gets made for other people. So I think that is something that really resonates with people when they see the film. And it's really well done. It's it's a dark comedy, and it really really rides that line. And this is the type of project that we love. It's something that sort of is just on that tightrope of is this completely tragic? Is this completely funny? I don't really know.
Exactly. Like Transparent and Atlanta and Search Party and all these really weird dark comedies.
Yeah,
that kind of speak
comedy.
To exactly
comedy,
high maintenance. That kind of thing.
And so but yeah, the film is just really well done, and I think it speaks to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other one that you guys have up for the Artios right now is Zack and Mia Webseries, I guess technically you'd call it. It was on Go 90.
Now it's on Hulu.
It is on Hulu. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I started watching it and I couldn't stop watching it.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's
so
really,
so
really good.
Yeah, Zack and Mia.
Yeah, Zack and Mia.
So we did it for Awesomeness, originally for Go 90, and
okay.
Yeah, originally
Awesomeness made it.
Awesome, yeah, it's
okay.
Awesomeness.
Okay.
The studio's Awesomeness, and they kind of built it with the intention of potentially selling it somewhere else later as a half hour. So we did 12 11-minute episodes, but they made it so that they could cut them into 6 22-minute episodes. So that's how they sold it to Hulu.
Yeah.
So on Hulu, the first season is 6 22-minute episodes.
Great.
On Go 90, it was 12 11-minute episodes. And
it's based on a YA novel about 2 teenagers, Zack and Mia, who meet and fall in love in the hospital, and where they're both being treated for cancer. And it's so beautiful, so well done. That was another thing that as soon as we read the script, we were like, we have to do this.
Yeah.
And it's just it's filled with such heart, and the cast that we got is just so lovely. And then they also have season 2, which is coming out. It might be out right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
on Hulu
okay. See,
too.
that's why I couldn't find
there's
it.
2 seasons.
Okay,
Yeah.
I knew there was a second season
it's
because it had it on
February.
IMDb, and I couldn't find it. So
Yeah.
I was like,
That's coming out
where's it
soon.
at? I need to watch more.
I felt the same way seeing it, that I wanted to watch the next episode and the next and the next.
Yeah.
And I cried by the end. You know, it's very good. Very well done. So we're really proud of that work as well. And
well, and that varies, like in particular, like cancer has touched so many people's lives, and Awesomeness really treated it very respectfully, and they brought in a lot of folks to consult, and I had a friend through CSA who she was Laura Adler's really good friend, and she was 22, I think, Allie, and she had metastatic, I don't even know what the original cancer was. It might have been lung. But she consulted for them, and they interviewed her, and they wanted to get all of the medical stuff really, really right. And she was young and she was dealing with cancer, and they wanted to make sure that they were really reflective of that experience. And she ended up passing last year, right as season 2 was coming out. But it was when we read the script and kind of looked at all the material and everything, we were like, this is a really important project to be a part of too, because I just lost my stepdad to cancer on New Year's Eve. So, it is something that everyone can really relate to, but it also showcases this really beautiful love story, and navigating kind of the most horrible thing you can imagine.
But also, during like a really exciting time.
Right.
So it's like this exciting love story, but with the background of cancer, or, going through cancer with the background of love. And so it's a very unique,
like, living
story.
So we feel very lucky to have been a part of that. And it continues to impress us.
Yeah. It stars Annie Winters, who you guys may have seen on Night School, 13 Reasons Why, and Kian Lawley, is that how you pronounce his name? Yeah. As the titular characters of Zack and Mia. And I know all characters, no matter how big they are important to a story. You need all of the pieces to play chess. But it seems like there's more you have to take more consideration for the two people, especially the titular characters who are carrying a show. What were your experiences casting Zack and Mia specifically?
Well, Kian was not necessarily attached when we started the project, but he was like a person of interest, we'll say.
And that came from the producers, came from the directors?
Yeah. Because he is in the influencer space, and that's a lot of where their bread and butter is. But he's also a terrific performer. And it wasn't until pretty late in the process. We did read a lot of other people for that role too, but it wasn't until pretty late in the process when he finally became attached. And then for Mia, we read a lot of terrific actresses as well, and did some chemistry reads. And with Annie, it ended up being an offer that we sent her materials. And because just at after reading everybody, there was just, like we said, it's all subjective, but there was just something that was missing.
That they were missing, yeah.
They were missing,
They couldn't explain it to us.
Yeah.
We kept asking, we were like, well, what exactly is it that these particular girls don't fulfill for you? And they couldn't really pinpoint it.
Yeah.
So we just kept...
Which happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we just kept
sometimes you don't know
digging.
Why it doesn't work. But
yeah.
You just know it doesn't
And
work.
we were casting sort of during pilot season.
Yes.
And so a lot of people were not even like wanting to be considered for it because they wanted to go and shoot a big network show. So it was towards the end of pilot season when, all the people who didn't get shows, then we started getting phone calls, and we started calling them and saying like, okay, now who's left?
Right.
And
we lean on the agents a lot too. One of our favorite agents over at Gersh, we called him and we were like, who is this? Like, who do you have? Who's right for this? And he was like, how about Annie Winters? And we were like,
we love Annie Winters. Is
she
available
she's
now?
Amazing. Is she available? And he was like, yeah. And so then we took her back to them, and they were like, can she do it? And we were like,
we promise
yes,
she can do it.
She can do this. We promise, because their concern was, it's very dramatic.
You've got to go to some deep, pretty horrible places to
and
you got to believe that you're dying of cancer.
They wanted to see it,
sucks.
They wanted to see it, but there's a reality of the day in that, it wasn't a big giant network pilot, so there's some people who won't read for things like that. So we were like, we promised she can do it, and then she did.
And then she did, and
then she won an Emmy.
Yeah, and then she won an Emmy. Exactly. Yeah. Both of those projects, Emergency and Zack and Mia, are really close to our hearts, and we're so honored to be nominated for them within the Artios.
Well, good luck at those awards, because that's really
Thank you.
Both of those projects I really, really liked. Maria's telling me I got to wrap up. I'm not gonna. We're gonna keep going a little bit longer because we have to talk about Wayne.
Right.
I'm very excited to talk about Wayne. It's on YouTube,
YouTube
and
Premium.
it'll be out yesterday when we post this Thursday of this week. It was created by Sean Simmons, EP'd by Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese, both producers on Deadpool, starring Mark McKenna, Sierra Bravo, Mike O'Malley, Dean Winters, and Ray McKinnon. It's about Wayne, who is a 16-year-old dirty Harry with a heart of gold, who sets out on a dirt bike from Boston to Florida with a new friend named Dell to get back his '78 Trans Am that was stolen from his father before he died. It's John Wick via John Hughes, and I can't fucking wait for this show. I'm very, very excited about this.
We're so excited. We've only seen the pilot at a screening, and it's, that was a really when we met on the show, we were like, we this was another thing where we were like, we have to do this. The two of us had cast a pilot for Amazon in the on their kids side, and with these two writers. Kirk and Greg, and
Greg Coolidge and Kirk Ward,
yes,
who are also producers, EPs on Wayne.
Yes,
So
they were nice enough to remember us and to want us to work on Wayne. They're like, look, you're gonna meet on this. They're also meeting with someone else, but our fingers are crossed for you, and because we'd only been partnered for maybe a year at that time, and it's just such a unique story. Again, it's one of those things that walks that little tightrope of what is this? Is this comedy? Is this tragedy?
Right.
Is this an action movie? Is this?
It's a half-hour drama, which
it's a half-hour
super
drama.
into.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted it so bad that we have to kind of audition for our jobs too, and so we made this really beautiful book with mood boards and pictures of like people that we thought might be interesting in it, and kind of pulled pictures, like reference photos of like not just people, but like of like looks for it, almost like we were like gonna shoot it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we were like, okay, so don't think we're crazy, but like here's our vision for this, and luckily they responded really well to that and didn't think we were overdoing it.
And that's an example of how a vision for a role can change over time, because Sean had something very specific in mind for the character of Wayne, and we tried reading everyone who fit that vision, and it just
over and
landing.
over again.
Yeah,
we had them tape many
reading
times.
the same people over and over again.
Yes.
So we started the process just like any pilot, just reading people in LA, and we did LA, and then New York, and then the Southeast, and then sort of nationwide, and then Canada, and still weren't finding Wayne. And then we both looked at each other and we were like, all right, we gotta go overseas.
Well,
let's jump the pond. Yeah.
We had taken in the book that we put together for the meeting on it, we had taken a couple ideas, and I had seen Sing Street about I don't know, maybe 6 months before this meeting, and I kind of fell in love with the kids in it. Have you seen it?
I haven't. No.
Okay, you should watch it.
But it's on my list now.
Yeah, it is incredible. And it's this like Irish 80s movie about this band, and it's just like it's amazing.
It's lovely.
It's amazing. And so Mark was I think Ferdio was in it in the book too, but Mark specifically, we were like, I was like, I think he'd be really interesting, and he's very new. I having gotten to know him and hearing the story of how he got Sing Street, that was his first job. So we had. At the beginning of the process, we asked for him to self-tape, and he's in Ireland, and his agent's in London, and so it took a long time for us to get his tape back. And we had read, while we were waiting for his tape, we read
1,000.
600 people, I don't know. And his tape finally came in, and Chrissy watched it, and I was like doing something else, and she was like, Amanda,
we finally got
stop
Mark's
what you're
tape.
doing.
Yeah. And his tape was really great. We had a couple of notes, and so did the producers. And so they were like, could you retape? And he did. And that was enough to convince everybody to fly him here to test. There was also another young actor from England who we flew over as well. And then for the role of Dell, Sierra is the actress who Amanda was talking about, who she like did a standing ovation during the audition, basically.
So appropriate.
Just couldn't help yourself.
I couldn't. I literally couldn't help myself.
Yeah, she just walked in and she was the role immediately.
Yeah.
And so we flew Mark and the other actor to LA and had them test and go on tape.
So my husband, who's a DP, we asked if we could do the chemistry test over at the YouTube stages, which are very close to our house. And I had Devin come shoot it for us because I usually run camera, and I was like, I think it might help sell it if it looks really good.
And YouTube had been like, oh, just do it in your office. And we're like, no, we want to make this pretty.
Yeah. Just let us, please. And they're like, all right.
We want to play too.
I think he like rented a camera for it too.
Yeah, he did.
He
Yeah,
like, brought in like an Alexa. Anyway, so we had it all set up, and we shot this beautiful test, and then we went home and waited. And the next day, we got a call.
Yeah, got a call from the studio or from the network, and they were like, okay, so we watched the tape. We agreed that Sierra is Dell. We like Mark, but did you happen to get a take where he was really angry? And we both went, oh, no. And he said, he's about to get back on his plane to Ireland. Just let him get back to Ireland when he does it. Just have him tape again and send it to us. This was on a Friday. Well, because my husband's an actor, I've seen him go through the testing process a bazillion times. And he tested probably 30 times before actually getting cast in a pilot.
Tested on one of the shows I worked with Lexus and Christine on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I had seen the process go wrong so many times where people change their mind. And so we call the producers and say, hey, then the network, they like Mark, but they want one more take with him being angry. And they were like, oh, okay, we'll just get him to tape in Ireland. And then I said, I'm sorry, just to interject real quick, because we live on opposite sides of town. So she was over on the west side, I'm on the east side. And we're all on speaker together in this huge conference call. And I said, I'm just saying this out loud for the first time ever, everyone. I haven't even said this to Amanda, but I'm looking at Mark's travel memo, and he's currently still at his hotel, and the car service hasn't picked him up yet. Amanda lives right by the airport. His hotel is right by the airport. What if we have his car service go over to Amanda's house, where her husband has the equipment still, and we tape him quickly, and then just take him to LAX, and he goes back to Ireland.
I was like, great idea.
Yeah, and everyone goes, okay.
Yeah.
And then the biggest mad dash scramble.
Well, the biggest problem was he's this Irish kid. He's like 21 years old at the time, and he doesn't have a working cell phone, so we can't reach him. Okay,
Yeah.
So Chrissy is on. She hops like on another line with the car service, tries to reroute them. I was at the nail salon at the time, so I ran home, and I'm like waiting for his car to show up, because I'm waiting in my front lawn, because I was like, he's not going to understand what's going on. He thinks he's going to LAX, and no one's explaining to him what's happening. So I'm standing on my front lawn, and I'm on the phone with Chrissy and the producers, and I'm like waiting, and I'm like, Chrissy, it's 5:00. He's
not here.
He's not here. And in the same moment, we were like, she's like, get in the car. And I was like, I'm getting in the car.
I was like, just go to the airport.
I'm going to the airport. So
find him.
I run into my house, and I say to Devin, I'm like,
Set up the camera.
I'm going to the airport. Set the camera up in the garage. Be ready for me to bring him back here, because I'm going to find him. I get to the airport. I'm driving, and I'm circling LAX.
She's like, I don't see him anywhere. I was like, well, then just park.
And I was like, okay.
Go inside.
So I have flip-flops on and just my purse. And I run into Tom Bradley, and I'm like, hi, where's Aer Lingus? And they're like, I think we might have moved it to Terminal 3. And I was like, okay. So I ran to Terminal 3. I run into Terminal 3. I'm like, where's Aer Lingus? And they're like, I think it might be in Terminal 2 now. So I'm running to Terminal 2. And I get to Terminal 2, and I was like, Aer Lingus, okay, great. So I run up to the counter. I'm like, hi. So I'm the casting director, and I know this is like super weird, but like, is there any way that you can page this actor? His name is Mark McKenna. I think he's already gone through security, and just ask him to come back out here and talk to me for a second. And they were like, no, ma'am. And I was like, right, okay, right. Obviously, that's not going to happen. Okay, so then I walk away, and I've got the producers and Chrissy in my ear.
And the producers go, okay, well, how about this? Just buy a one-way ticket to New York, go through security, and find him. So she goes up to the counter and is like, hi, I would like a one-way ticket to New York for now. And they were like, they start looking at her all weird.
And then they're gathering around, like the manager's coming over, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys, I'm going to get arrested.
I'm in flip-flops. It's November. I'm not going to New York. It's very obvious.
I'm going to get arrested. And they're like, okay, walk away. And so I walk outside.
And then they go, okay, here, we'll give us your, your birth date and everything. And
we'll
buy the ticket for you. And then you just go up to the kiosk.
I was like, okay.
Get it. And we're like, okay.
So I'm giving them my birthday. And then Chrissy chimes in.
And then I go, wait a minute. I have another idea. And thanks to Tate doing Quantico, he now has a verified Twitter account. And I was like, I'm going to tweet at Mark. So because he wasn't picking up his phone, he wasn't texting or anything. We were trying. I think his phone was like clogged because we were calling so much. It
wasn't working.
Yeah. And I just ended up going like, hey, at Mark McKenna, at Casting Amanda, and at CD Fio are trying to find you. DM me. And sure enough.
From Tate's account.
Yeah, from Tate's account. And sure enough, he responded to the tweet. And so then I'm DMing with him. I'm like, hey, it's Chrissy, not Tate. Hi. Go outside. Like, don't worry about your flight. Just leave, and Amanda will come get you. Because his flight had been delayed by 2 hours. We found out by that time. Yeah.
So I turn around. I'm like, here he is. And I hang up on everybody. And I get him in my car. And at that point, we had kind of, become like, we made friends with him during the testing process, so it wasn't super weird. But like, it was weird.
Yeah.
I got him. I was like, so you're gonna come home with me, and we're gonna shoot one more take of it in my garage, okay? And he was like, okay. And I was like, in the car driving home, I was like, I live really close to LAX, don't worry. And he was like, okay. And I was like, do you feel kidnapped? And he was like, kind of. And I was like, okay.
Because I'm not sure if I completed this thought earlier, but because I had seen things, change so quickly with Tate, I knew that the stakes were really high. And if he had gotten on that plane, and if he got all the way to Ireland, and then we finally give him the notes and what to do, and wait, everyone would have changed their mind. Yeah. And they all say, no, we wouldn't have changed our mind now. But they would have, because it would have been at least 5 days before we got the tape. Yep. And then, someone would have seen some movie with the one kid we didn't see.
Right.
and then they would be Wayne. But we knew that it was Mark. Mm-hmm. And so that was the lengths that we went to get it. Yeah.
So we got him home, and I called Devin, and I was like, so Mark's in the car with me. Turn on all the lights, just so he doesn't feel kidnapped, And Devin was like, okay. And get him home, and we go through the scene like
a couple of times,
5 or 6 times, and Devin edits it quickly for us, and we send it off to YouTube. And then I was like, I could take you back to the hotel, and we can get you on a flight tomorrow, or you can stay here if you want. And he was like, I'll stay here. I was like, okay. So he stayed, and the next morning, I was like, Devin and I took him to the airport, and I was like, do you want to go get breakfast? He's like, yeah. I can't do the Irish accent very well, but he was like, can you take me to a diner from like Pulp Fiction? And we were like, totally. So we took him to a diner that looks like the diner in Pulp Fiction, and showed him the ocean, and then put him on a plane. And right before he took off, he booked it.
Yeah.
What a wild story about you. Like, I can only imagine from his perspective how crazy that was too.
Yeah. Right. Well, and then compared to Sierra, who just walked in, and everybody was like, "Yeah,
well, we're gonna clap for you now."
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. And so, and the series is just so special, and we're so excited to see the whole thing. And they shot it up in Toronto.
Where are people going to be able to see this?
On YouTube Premium.
Okay.
Yep. And if you don't already have an account, I think it's free for the first 30 days. So just sign up, get that free 30 days.
Watch Wayne and...
Watch Wayne. Yeah, and comment that you want more of it.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap up. Where can people follow you guys? find your info?
Twitter.
Yeah?
Yeah, Casting Amanda, at CDPO.
I don't tweet.
Okay, well, you read tweets.
I read tweets.
Yeah, I don't really
Okay.
tweet either actively, but I really enjoy when actors tweet their like most recent work at me, so I can like take a quick look and all that jazz. I think it's
Okay.
the easiest, cleanest way for me to kind of
Keep up with people.
keep up with people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't tweet, and my Instagram's private, but you can do all the things with Amanda, and she'll pay attention. That's why we share a brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tweet at me.
All right.
We found Twitter to be very valuable.
Yeah, very.
All right. Well, again, thank you guys for taking the time to come in today, and we're going to have to do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was great.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah. That was a lot of fun. Keep an eye on the two of them. They're going to do great things. Did something we say pique your interest in this episode, but you didn't get a chance to write it down? Well, check out our website, placingfaces.com, for links to everything we talk about in our episode show notes. Also, please like, comment, subscribe, love, heart, thumbs up, and share the show. Someone out there is in need of this episode, and you could just be the one to help. Share now. Tune in next week when we talk with superstar casting director Alexa Fogel, up for 3 Artios Awards this year. You probably know her work from Oz, The Wire, Generation Kill, In Treatment, True Detective Season 1, Banshee, Pose, Ozark, The Deuce, and Atlanta. Placing Faces is powered by Collaborator.com, a media production service connecting media professionals to companies, brands, and agencies, allowing you to scale your production based on your needs. Video professionals find work and companies save money. Do you want to learn more about casting directors, find one to work with? Well, check out our partners, the Casting Society of America, for more information. They've introduced us to so many of our guests while serving as a hub of information about this branch of the entertainment industry. To learn more about the society and what it takes to get into casting, visit castingsociety.com. And finally, if you haven't gotten your fix of industry interviews yet, we'd like to recommend that you check out our friend Mike and his podcast over at boxangeles.com. He's had some fascinating guests from every position on the credit scroll, including Placing Faces' favorite, Jessica Sherman. So, go check him out now, and until next time, thank you for listening, and be well.